This is crazy. I'm getting another video out for you guys this quickly. I never thought something like this would happen. But here we are back up on the off-grid homestead build. And I'm gonna talk about some of the cooler aspects of building your own property. And more specifically, what we're gonna do with all the trees that we're gonna cut down. So where I'm standing is actually part of the 3 acres, and this used to be absolute forest. And you can see behind me that it's mostly cleared out. The tree line behind me is the property line, and that is the neighbor's property. There are still some areas that we need to cut down, burn, get rid of, whatever. But we still have some decent trees left on different parts of the property that we need to cut down. On this property in upstate New York, it's mostly some kind of pine, maple, and a few cherry. So that's what we're looking at. And with the pine, maple, and cherry, they all present themselves with different resource opportunities, different things that we can use the wood for. Primarily, we're going to use firewood. So we definitely going to need some firewood, whether it's just outside fire pit or maybe an inside wood stove in the future. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get behind the camera and I'm going to scoot the camera around and show a panning shot of the backyard as it sits right now, August 2024. We have some trees that we recently cut down, and there's some equipment laying around, so don't judge. But I'm going to talk about 3 trees specifically that we recently cut down 2 weeks ago. And now I'm up here by myself, cutting them up, trying to decide exactly what these trees are going to do for us in the future. So let's do a panning shot from left to right. This is the backyard, and you can see one giant pine tree there. Look at the size of that thing. And then you're going to see another pine in the back, and then closest to us right here is going to be a cherry tree. I have a stack of firewood there that I have been spending some time splitting and stacking on my homemade firewood rack. Don't judge the firewood rack. I put it together with some extra 2x4s I had laying around. No plan in mind, just hold some firewood. So I spent about a half hour or so splitting some wood yesterday. Let's get in a little closer. And I'm going to show you the different trees themselves, these 3 trees specifically, and we're going to talk about what we're going to do with them. The first one we're going to show you is this long pine, and this is a good sized tree. It's pretty straight. There's a curve or two right around this area, but I want to take you down here and show you the size of this thing. We cut this down about 2 weeks ago, and you can see the curve is forcing this end to kind of lift up off the ground. It touches the ground right around there in the middle, spans that little gap, and it goes up onto another spot. So, granted, the ground isn't level, but the tree is definitely curved. Look at that. So this is right there. It's pretty big. It's a good sized tree. So the plan for this tree is to cut a section, maybe 10 feet or so. We're going to make a bench out of this, a real big, thick, heavy bench for the front porch that we're going to be building eventually. And then the rest of this, if I cut it off right about here, that's probably about 12 feet or so to give me a little extra. Then the next stretch could be just planks, could be shelves, could be anything. We have options here. So we're going to mill these trunks into whatever we want them to be. And that is one of the coolest aspects of homesteading or doing something like this on your own. When we get down towards the far ends, of course, I could just use firewood for that, no big deal. Now let's spin around. The next pine tree over here, too curved, too skinny. I'm just gonna cut that up for firewood. And we got a couple sections here. This section here is straight. I can make something out of that. Shelves or what have you. This guy, probably gonna get cut up. This one's also straight, just like this one here. So between those two, I might be able to get some cool boards or lumber out of those pine. We'll see what happens. But at the very least, if not, I cut them up for firewood. But this is where we get very excited. We have a cherry tree, a black cherry tree. At least that's what we think it is. If you guys see this and think it's something different, let me know. But I have a tree field guide, it said black cherry. I also looked it up online and it said a black cherry. So here's the stump, just to give you an idea. That's how big we're looking, okay? Not very, very big, but big enough to make something cool. This first section, Tina wants to make a mantle for our wood stove. So again, if I have a picture of an inspiration, I will show you what I'm looking at overlaid on the camera here. So that first section there, I'm thinking going to make a mantle 10, 12 feet long, something like that. I did save this, I guess it's called a Y, this split. I've seen a lot of cool like epoxy tables and things like that. I could make something like that myself. So I cut a section around here, get it milled flat, get a piece, pick the best piece, and then fill in the gaps with epoxy. That could be a table in the workshop or a bar or anything like that in the end. This next section here has got some character. So this could be the mantle. We're not quite sure what we want to do, but we're going to save all this. So this is probably about 15 feet long. And I like that it has some branches coming out there and here and here. That could give it a lot of cool character once you mill it and get some nice looking planks out of it, get some slabs. And then these two pieces of cherry, one right there, a little more straight, but still got some curve. This is probably the straightest piece, also cherry. So we have plenty of options, but the grand plan is to take all this wood that we have here and make something unique that has never been made, a one of a kind, and include it in our house build somehow, somewhere. Now, I am not an expert in anything. I am totally learning as I go. So I'm not really sure what else I can say, but what I can tell you is that the aspect and the prospect, rather, of having a one-of-a-kind piece of furniture made from trees that I cut down on my own land, that I worked hard to pay for, with the love of my life by my side every step of the way. There is nothing more romantic than that I've ever heard of. This is the ultimate for me. I really, really would love to take that cherry tree and turn it into a one-of-a-kind mantle for Tina. Take that pine and turn it into a one-of-a-kind big, thick, heavy bench that we could all just enjoy for years, a family heirloom, and no one else would ever have anything else like that. It's a one-of-a-kind, unique piece, and it'll be historic, at least for me. We can date it, and it'll be ours forever. And it's just something so cool about that idea. Having the ability to take something like this, raw material, and turn it into something that is just special. That anyone who comes over and says, "Hey, where'd you buy that?" I could say, "No, I made that." And it's just, it's the primal urge in me to do something like that. It's hard to explain. I bet a lot of you can understand that and see where I'm coming from. It's really hard to put into words and articulate, but that's the best I can do at the moment. I'm just looking forward to it. Now, my biggest challenge at the moment is that these pieces of wood, these little trunks, are huge and they're still wet, so they're super heavy. I have to cut them down into manageable pieces and somehow stack them up to get them up off the ground so they can dry out a little better. We get plenty of snow up here in upstate New York, so I have to put them up at least a foot or so off the ground just to keep that snow and rain from rotting them out. So I'm going to use other logs and stumps or whatever I got laying around to kind of prop them up. But I am probably not physically capable of lifting. I know I'm not physically capable of lifting these logs up onto something. So I'm going to have to get creative with some mechanical advantages. I have a van that can pull. I have a what do you call these things? Not a winch, a come along. I have some chains, straps. I could probably figure something out. It's not something I've ever done before, but I got confidence that with enough hard work and maybe a helping hand here and there, I can get these things propped up. As far as that long pine goes, part of it is already off the ground, so I'm not really worried about the pine for the bench. The cherry, I need to save. I need to get that up off the ground. But that's that. That'll be for another day. Anyway, just thanks for checking out this little channel, and try and leave some encouraging words in the comment section down below. Click the like button, share the video, but most importantly, subscribe and keep an eye out for future videos coming eventually. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.